we are Fantasy Football in 5, and we give you the best, quickest, and the most accurate news.
We are better than those experts.
Anyways, our last episode was our wide receiver drafting strategy, and this episode will be our tight end drafting strategy.
So as you can see our last episode, hit the big red button below. Alright, so for our top 5 fantasy tight ends for this season, we like Gronk, Greg Olsen, Travis Kelce, Coby Fleener, and Delaney Walker.
Now, Coby Fleener, I expect him to do really well with Drew Brees throwing him the ball. Look at what Jimmy Graham did when he was there, and now what Jimmy Graham is doing.
Right.
So Drew Brees makes those tight ends.
And I saw a little factoid the other day. Whenever Drew Brees drops back to pass, he targets the tight ends 24.1% of the time. That's an incredible rate, because I think the league average might be around 20. So look for Coby Fleener to have a tremendous year this year.
Alright, a few busts this year in the tight end department. We'll start out with Jordan Reed, then Tyler Eifert, Zach Ertz, Jimmy Graham, and Dwayne Allen.
Hold the phone. Do we really have Jordan Reed as a bust?
We do, and the reason we have Jordan Reed as a bust is because if you look at what he did last year, he kind of broke out in the second half of the season, and he produced a lot of touchdowns for that Redskins team. However, I'm not sure that he can do that again, simply because of the array of weapons that they have in the Redskins wide receivers, and the fact that Kirk Cousins is not an elite passer, so I'm not sure how well he'll do next season.
Tyler Eifert is our other big name bust this season. He's a tight end for the Bengals. He's currently on the PUP, I believe. He put up a lot of touchdowns last year, double digits, I believe 13 maybe, but he didn't have a whole lot of yards. That's just probably because he's a big red zone threat. He was a pleasant surprise last year, but I don't expect his success to directly translate to this season. I don't see double-digit touchdowns again this season. I see less than 700 yards. Right, so our favorite draftable tight ends this year include Travis Kelce, Coby Fleener, Ladarius Green, and Gary Barnidge. Now, Ladarius Green is the tight end for the Steelers, so I might have a little bias here, but he's currently hurt right now. They do expect him to be back for the regular season, and if he's not, he's still a very valuable bench player because when he comes back, he's a great vertical threat. I don't know how his blocking will be because that's what Heath Miller did tremendously, but expect him just to be another weapon in Ben Roethlisberger's offense.
Travis Kelce is another tight end that I wanted to talk about. He was great last year. We talked about him last year, and he produced. This year, we expect him to do a lot of the similar stuff with Alex Smith targeting him in the middle, because Alex Smith is a conservative passer, and Travis Kelce is a big target for him to throw balls to.
Look to draft like Kelce and Fleener in round 6, where we want to draft a tight end. And for the backups, you can grab them around 12 or 13, depending on how your draft goes.
All right, a few sleepers in the tight end department this year. We have Zach Miller, then Antonio Gates, Julius Thomas, and Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Now, we're pretty big on Julius Thomas as a good sleeper this year. When he was in Denver, he performed extremely well in their offense, and now he's with Jacksonville, and he hasn't done a whole lot the past couple of seasons. But expect that those kind of numbers like he showed in Denver to come up again, just because Blake Bortles loves to throw the ball to everybody.
Zach Miller is another tight end that we may have talked about him in our drafting strategy video at the very beginning, but I just wanted to highlight him because he did really well for the Bears last season, and no one really expected it. However, I think he could do the same thing again because he used to be a really good tight end. I think he played for the Raiders back in the day.
Probably.
And he was good then, and expect him to still be a good, viable backup tight end now.
He only played 12 games last year, and during those 12 games, he averaged a little under 6 points per game fantasy-wise. So that's not bad for a backup tight end, really, but you'd like those numbers to increase this year. Alright, that was Fantasy Football 5. Thank you for watching. We love all your fantasy in 5 minutes. Honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen. Now, we don't want to sound conceited with our intro, but we have the stats to back it up. We had a 67% accuracy for our predictions last year, so that just backs it up.
So, stay with us for more accurate information, and don't forget to subscribe.